chip on my shoulder.
We gathered the 3 most successful coaches in Chicago basketball history. They combined 13 state championship rings.
Once you give it, you take it back.
Coming together to give Chicago the show it deserves.
What a play by Terry Cummings.
Of the best basketball culture in the world. This is 13 Rings.
Well, Gordon, I just told you I always talk for my age, so let's not embarrass me. I was a shortstop.
You were a shortstop? No, man.
Don't try to put me in that category because I'm tall.
Gordon, it's my family, actually. Me and Rob met each other when we were 6 years old. I met Nick when he first started coming in the gym after playing for his dad. Nick was a little chubby kid that just chucked the ball from half court and ran around.
What was the first neighborhood you lived in? What were your earliest beginnings? You got asked so much about your NBA time, your college time. I want to know, like, where was baby Antoine raised, and who were your first heroes?
And then really just kind of looked at the boat so that when you use the boat goes, you can't pass.
This is why we missed you last week, dog.
This is why we missed you last week.
Yeah, because you all had other guys to beat me last week. So no, I couldn't make it go.
Is you coming to the bench with 5 seconds on the shot clock. Like, what play you gonna draw? That make you a better coach. That make you a good coach. Like, okay, we got 5. Where the ball at, ref? Now you gotta strategize. Where the ball at? How much time on the clock? We gotta go with hurry up stuff. So you gotta work on stuff like that in practice as well. So.
Well, pretty much you ain't had no problem because you just gave the ball to Iowa Tully and said,
I know, just move out their way.
35 in the high school might not be too bad.
That's terrible. Shut up. That ain't no serious.
35, right? I mean, you can go
Rob.
for faith.
You play Simeon, that's 8 possessions.
That's what
Hey, I'll tell you this.
That's 8 possessions.
time. They've been social distancing for a long time. No problem.
Kind of that arrogant, that cocky swag. Kind of it hurt me a little bit.
They ain't stopped that though.
It made you good though.
I'm gonna tell you something. And Pete, you can attest to this. I'm gonna tell you what was the best thing I ever did is when I went to go play for Rick Pitino.
Okay.
Because he was a disciplinarian.
I remember that 98 All-Star game because you was in your glory because they let you play point guard to start the game.
Oh yeah, you know that.
Yeah, you know I did.
Hey, I definitely remember that.
Hey P, and I did a hell of a job. You know how many
You did. You was playing alongside the greats and you was the point guard at 6'9".
Yeah, I had to feed Mike, you know what I'm saying, Reggie Miller.
I had to feed Mike.
For 13 Rings, episode 10, bringing out the big guns here. Normally I do a lot of research to try to get some biographical information about our guests to make sure I know everything. Didn't have to do it this week. Everybody knows it. We got Paris Parham here providing the college perspective from UW Milwaukee. And then 3-time All-Star Antoine Walker joining us, the pride of Mount Carmel. Former opponent of Nick Irvin. We're going to dig into that game. Very excited about both of these guys. And I'm going to go left to right on my screen here. I just want to know, first of all, Antoine, why are you friends with Nick? You guys are like thick as thieves.
I was friends with his brother first, so you got to start, started with his older brother, and then obviously me and Nick became close through the years, and that's my little brother. So that's blood there. We're brothers.
Yes, sir.
And then Paris, why are you, taking your beautiful Saturday afternoon to talk to 5 other ugly dudes?
Gordon, it's my family actually. Me and Rob met each other when we were 6 years old. I met Nick when he first started coming in the gym after playing for his dad. Nick was a little chubby kid that just chucked the ball from half court and ran around. And then I actually met Coach Slaughter when he had his first years of doing AAU high school stuff. I don't know if he remembers this, but he had Juwan Howard in the crew. And I played with a different neighborhood gang. And we beat them in the YBI championship. I was the only college basketball player on the team playing with thugs. Hey,
here we go again. Another person that beat me. Every week there's somebody on this program that beat me.
Hey, but I have to be honest, though. I was in the same conference with him as a high school coach. I didn't win those. And those are probably more important. And my relationship with Twan stems back to his sophomore year in high school, Centurion Classic. I had just graduated, and I was a former champion of the tournament. And every time Twan hit a bucket, he looked at me and was like, "Yeah, you need to come out here and get some." I'm like, "Who is this kid?" So ever since he started, he never stopped.
That's my
classic, dude. The chair classic is my classic. You know that. That's my classic.
Hey, I was out of school, Twan, when y'all play. I won that, so you can have that.
I've won it too.
So Antoine, first of all, what was the first neighborhood you lived in? What were your earliest beginning? You get asked so much about your NBA time, your college time. I want to know, like, where was baby Antoine raised, and who were your first heroes of Chicago basketball when you were real young?
Oh, well, I'm a South Side kid. I was raised on the South Side of Chicago, 53rd and Emerald. High school basketball, even Chicago basketball, it was different for me. I was one of those kids that was always tall for his age. So I kind of knew that, basketball probably was going to be my calling. It was my second love behind baseball. But really, I just grew up, in the 80s, watching, obviously, the Bulls. I go back to, watching Reggie Theus, Dave Corzine, those guys, the Bulls, watching them. And then just took a love for Magic Johnson to kind of follow him. I know we got so many great players in the city of Chicago, but my guy was Magic Johnson, who I kind of just followed and tried to emulate him. And as I grew up, especially from, I would say, 5th grade on, was when I really started to take basketball serious. I was at Visitation Elementary School. They were organized. They played in actual, leagues. We had a real team. And from that point on, it was, it's second to none where my basketball career went. But I actually followed Magic Johnson before I really got into really Chicago basketball players. I followed the pros and followed Magic.
So I heard from your point guard at Mount Carmel, Jay Driscoll, that you were an elite baseball player. So would you have been like a 6'9" first baseman? Or, I can't imagine you laying out in the outfield
Gordon,
Gordon,
I just told you I was always tall for my age, so let's not embarrass me. I was a shortstop.
You were a shortstop? No way.
Don't try to put me in that category because I'm tall. I was a shortstop, and I can pick it. No, West and Mr. Haley, Rob, Mr. Haley. I know Mr. Haley. I played for Mr. Haley and Jackie Robinson West. But honestly, I'm gonna be honest with you why I didn't play. And Simeon's crazy, Rob. Coach Frank and Hambrick both recruited me and gave me an opportunity to go there to play both sports. And that was one of the major. And at that time, Simeon probably, on top of being great in basketball, they were unbelievable in baseball too.
Yeah, Leroy.
So I had
a great one.
Yeah, so I had a chance to go there. But to be honest, why I did go, after my freshman year, man, you starting to play baseball in March in Chicago. It's 30 degrees. I couldn't do it no more, man. I didn't have to drive to play in 30-degree weather, man. I couldn't do it. So I was like, I'm 6'4", and I went into high school 6'4". I was like, yeah, it's time to do something else. After striking out about 10 times, I was like, yeah, it's time to go somewhere else. I can't play this no more. So that's what really made me stop. I couldn't do the weather no more. But I could play though. I wasn't no pro, but I could play.
A 6'4".
Twan, I didn't know that, Twan.
No, he was out there. He was out there scooping them up too.
That's my first love. Y'all got to remember. Well, you guys may not know.
Hey, Twan
Walker was my uncle.
Yeah.
So, he played 18 years professional baseball, played for the Cubs from 91 to 93. So I ended up going to a ton of Cubs games. I was a huge Cubs fan still to this day.
My man.
So,
no wonder we boys.
Yeah, so I was still a big Cubs fan. So I grew up with baseball being my first love.
You can change. It's never too late to change. Okay? Never too late to change.
This could have been
Twan.
Walker bobblehead. It's Sammy Sosa, but it could have been Twan right here.
Yeah.
It could have been you. Love it. That's awesome.
Hey, Twan, just to let you know, that was my first love, too, and I played all through high school. I actually led the state of Illinois in batting average in 1991.
You played all the way through?
Is that true?
Yeah, I even played 2 years in Lincoln when I went to Lincoln College.
I didn't know you went to Lincoln.
Yeah, but Simeon, Sean Livesley and crew, that great team they had with Hawkins and those guys, they beat us in the playoffs to go to the Great Comiskey Stadium. Not Wrigley, the Great Comiskey Stadium. Yes.
Phenomenal
We
facility.
Cubs fans on here.
No.
Okay, phenomenal facility.
Tell me
Nothing like
what was-
record night. Demolition.
Demolition, yeah, right. Disco demolition.
Phenomenal. Oh, beautiful. Beautiful.
The
You all wouldn't even know what that means in Wrigley. You wouldn't know what that means.
Tell them again.
Hey, Ty, they've been social distancing Comiskey for a long time. So there's gonna be no problem.
No.
Oh, wow. Okay. That's
Man,
a good
that's-
one, Rob. That's a good one.
Just
That's
call
a
back
good
the
one.
audience. Oh my
I ain't
god.
gonna lie, that's a real good one there.
That was a good one right there. Wow.
Paris, what was your earliest Chicago basketball memory? Who were kind of your local heroes when you were growing up? And what neighborhood did you grow up in?
I'm from what is considered now, they call it Bronzeville, but we call it the low end. So I'm from 35th Street, from 35th to 39th, but it was a little different for me. Like the Irvins have a large family name in Chicago basketball. I was born into like probably the biggest name in Chicago basketball. My dad had 9 brothers. They all played. So for me, just being a Parham, like you had to play basketball and there was nobody else to look up to because anything you wanted to do or see, I had an uncle that was doing that. So for me, it was just my uncles.
That's awesome. Man, you could have a full squad going with the
Oh,
brothers.
they did. They had their own team.
Yeah.
Own team.
Yeah, they did.
I love that. And you played baseball, you said, all the way through college too? Through high school?
Yeah, well, I stopped once I left junior college. I stopped. Like Twan said, you know, after being in the gym, 75 degrees every game.
Yeah,
The
right.
weather kind of in college. You know, in college I didn't play as much because I wasn't as dedicated to it because I was there on a basketball scholarship. But it was fun. Like, you know, it was my first love. I actually used to play out in Rob's neighborhood. I had it kind of good because I had a cousin that was, I think he lived a couple doors down from Rob in LeClaire Courts. And they created games with anything they had in Rob's neighborhood. So if there was a dumpster outside, they figured out a way to make some kind of athletic game out of it. If there was a tree down, they figured out to do something. So going to his neighborhood was a little different. I don't know if you guys remember those the uniforms with the helmets on them when you were kids. You get the big old helmet that didn't fit with no padding in it.
Oh, yeah, plastic, yeah.
Yeah, the plastic helmet. So in Rob's neighborhood, every kid got one of those for Christmas. And so I had to get one to go over there, and we played with those literally tackle football.
Oh, man.
With those no equipment the right way, fake shoulder pads. Yeah, so it was fun going over there. But I learned a little baseball in his neighborhood as well.
And then what did your high school decision come down to? What were the schools you considered?
For me, it was all about the neighborhood because I went to school in Hyde Park, you know, kind of out of my area, and we didn't have a basketball team, so I played a lot of you know, Chicago Park District Sportsorama, stuff like that. In Dunbar, you know, my dad went to Dunbar. He was the only one, and all his 9 brothers, all his 8 other brothers, went to Phillips High School. So I had to go follow my dad's footsteps. And Dunbar was a little different. It was a vocational school. Known for sports, but not like the, you know, King and Simeon back in the day. But it was always well respected. So I chose Dunbar because it was closer to the house and just known for some different stuff.
One of the best coaches to ever coach in Chicago who didn't get a lot of credit, Fate Michaels.
Yeah.
Didn't get a lot of credit for what he did and the people that he had. That he didn't have all the names like he said, like the Kings and Simeons and South Shores and all at that time, but he did a great job, and they was always in the thick of things. I really don't think he gets enough credit.
Nope.
You know how we go back and say some of our players don't get enough credit? As a high school coach, I don't think St. Michael's get enough credit.
Yeah, I agree.
And he was all about his thing was all about discipline. I just spoke about him earlier on a different Zoom call, people talking about who affected my life. The thing about Dunbar guys was this, like, he wasn't an X and O guy. We had 3 plays the whole year, and everybody knew him. And he would just create defensively, though, like, you would be so disciplined defensively. And that was back in the day when you can paddle kids and get away with it. So if you came out of your stance, you got to paddle, or you didn't block out, you got to paddle. So defensively, we were unbelievable. But the biggest thing for him and a lot of guys that don't get credit, even, you know, like, so I don't know who you guys talk about, but a lot of my teammates didn't have fathers at home. And so for Coach Mike, he was the coach and the father to a lot of guys that needed that. And his discipline, and I can say, like, my era at Dunbar, the success stories are unbelievable. Just coming from a city like Chicago where crime is imminent, and, you know, there's a lot of systematic racism. Only one of my teammates have been incarcerated in my 4-year span there. And that's, like, you know, it sounds crazy, but, like, from where we're from, the numbers are a little different for a lot of other schools. Nick
and Paris, but the PR person, boy, because they on here rocking. See, you ain't heard the new Nick yet. Wait till you get to talking to the boy.
Hey, Rob, they gotta go into them homes, Rob. They gotta be able to switch it up a little bit.
Hey, man, I get it. I'm saying Nick guy, he is fast though, boy. He been on here. I almost didn't know who was on here with me at time, Gordon.
And that's how it was when I called him. Hey, usually when I call him, he be like, "My man, what's up, my man?" He's like, "Hey, Coach Parham."
You gotta know how to speak that lingo, man. You gotta know how to speak it.
Gotta go in that home, baby.
Yeah.
But P and Twan, first I want to thank y'all for coming on, man. Like you said, it's 3:00 in the afternoon. Nick and Gordon put this together, and they added me and Ty, and we be able to come on who can help the state of Illinois and just people around the country about Chicago basketball and where we come from and our struggles and stuff like that. But having you guys on is really, really, really good, you know, to have some guys like you on here to take the time out of your day and give some people some knowledge about, you know, certain things that Gordon's going to go into today. And like you say, you can see already, we just having fun on here. So it's good to have both of you guys on.
Yeah.
And let me.
Oh, go ahead, Ty.
Yeah, let me just say, for me, I appreciate you guys coming on too. And we always have fun, and most time we have fun with the people that beat me, because Rob always brings on people who beat me. So that's the fun we usually have every Saturday. But really, I tell you, it is really, it's an honor to be on a Zoom call with another college coach. Now we have 2 black college coaches on here with us, and we have a young man who has played at the very highest level of this game, who is a big time basketball fan. You know, a lot of people may see him and think about it. But he comes to high school basketball games. Yep. That's when you know you're a basketball fan, when you show back up to a high school basketball game. And it's funny when you were talking about him and Nick playing, I was sitting here saying to myself, that had to be many, many years ago, because I could not see either of those two being on the court together right now. A little bit bigger probably when they play.
I like that, yeah. That's good.
No, I just want to thank them for coming on too. You know, I've been knowing both of them for forever, and you know, it's bigger than basketball with us, and we always there for each other when we need each other, and you know, hanging out, whether it's a phone call or anything like that. But I just want to thank y'all for coming on. Y'all know y'all both my big brothers, and you know, I'm always gonna pick y'all brain and get that knowledge from y'all.
Be careful of him though, Paris. Them players now, you can't talk to them the same way no more.
Yeah.
No,
right?
I'm just telling you, be careful, because he's loading it up down there.
Yeah, he is. Thank God he ain't in my conference.
That's awesome.
He rocking and rolling, baby.
Oh, no, he rocking and a rolling, baby. And he returns your phone calls faster, too. Oh, yeah. He does that. Oh, yeah.
Oh, yeah, that's true.
Yes, sir.
Oh, no, he returns them faster now, baby.
All right, well,
Yeah.
the biggest topic today is the project that Ty's working on, which is really caught fire all across the state. I've made a bunch of calls. You know, Ty obviously has tons of contacts in the Chicago area. I've been making calls all over the state, and I'll tell you what, almost every single person I talk to, no matter big school, small school, Central Illinois, Chicago, is like fired up about this. So Ty, can you share a little bit about what you are doing right now? What is your big project?
Well, you know, Gordon, really, it actually isn't my project. It was just something that I saw. Rob actually sent it to me. He sent me the tweet, and then I got mad. And so once I get mad, then I just started doing something. And really, it's about the shot clock. I think, for me, it's something that I think our time has come here in the state of Illinois. I think we tried this maybe about a year and a half or so ago, and the vote was 50-49 against it. And so I just said to myself, I think when you look around the world, not just the country, kids in other countries are playing with the shot clock in grade school. You know, the game is changing, the game is evolving. There's no, you know, today they talk about positionless basketball. I think we have to start training young people to play the game the right way and the way it's going to be played at the next level. Notwithstanding, I know a lot of people say, well, every kid is not going to go to college. Got that. But kids that are playing high school basketball still want to have an opportunity to play the game the way they see it played at the college level and at the pro level, and that's with the shot clock. And as a coach, I'll tell you, and I've talked with a lot of guys since this has been going on, since Rob and I have been talking about it, and I've been texting people, and we're fortunate to have put together what we like to believe is a blue ribbon committee of about 12 coaches from every segment of the state, not just from Chicago. We have guys out of Rock Island. We have guys out in Rockford. We have guys in Springfield. We have guys from the Catholic League. We have coaches from every segment of basketball. And I think the thing that most of them have said is that it actually will help us to become better basketball coaches. Why? Because there becomes a different strategy to the game. You know, so I'm excited about it. We're going to be working behind the scenes. I think a lot of people think that this is just a group of guys in Chicago saying we want a shot clock, let's have a vote. But what we really are committed to doing is putting together a campaign, trying to educate guys about why we should have it, and then hearing from the guys as to why they don't want to have it, and then really just trying to muster up the votes so that when we do propose the proposal, it can pass. It can pass. And one of the things that I want to kind of talk about, and, you know, Rob can, you know, I reached out to Rob, and he thought it was a good idea. We both talked about it. One of the biggest problems when you mention shot clock to anybody, the number one thing that everybody says is the prohibitive factor is the cost. You know, I put a tweet out today. Think about it. When they changed the uniform rules, anybody's uniforms that were not in compliance, it wasn't, well, you can change it if you want to. The job is to play in the league. You got to have XYZ uniform. When they put in the fact that you had to have a three-point line, nobody complained. You just have to put it down. So we've talked about ways to help fund shot clocks for those number of schools that can't have them. There's 600 and something odd schools in our state. I would venture to tell you that 500 of those schools minimally, that number could go up or could go down marginally. I would have to say that all of them can afford it. We've done some research on the cost of shot clocks, you know, and we've also said we looked at it, and we looked at Chicago has 169 public schools. I had an opportunity to reach out to a couple of former NBA athletes and ask them for CPS, if we have schools that cannot afford shot clocks, would they be willing to support it? And everyone that I've spoken with has said absolutely, and that we could use their name as we go forward in this campaign. And we're not talking about trying to get $100,000 from guys, but whatever anybody wanted to give, we'd be more than willing to take. Notwithstanding, we're going to reach out to corporate America to talk about their supporting it. Why? Because it's time for change. I think right now, we look at what's going on in America. This is the year of change. Everything needs to be started. Everything and everyone needs to be looking at change. And for me, I think our game has to change. Our game is changing, and we can no longer stand silently on the sidelines and watch everybody else passing by. So that's why I'm involved with it, and I'm going to be working along with other guys, Rob and Coach Mike from Evanston and PITINO from Loyola. We have a bunch of Mike from Riverside. We've got a lot of guys that are involved in it. And you guys are going to hear more about it because as the campaign starts to roll out, we want to roll it out, and we want to roll it out in a big way.
This is why we missed you last week, dog. This is why we missed you last week.
Yeah, because you all had other guys that beat me last week. So no, I couldn't make it. No.
We missed you. But the thing about it is what you said is true. Like, I think, man, you talked about this, and I think I've talked to Nick about this as well. Is last year when we went to Hoop Hall and we played DeMatha, if I knew how to manage the shot clock, we'd have won. And that had nothing to do with the kids. That was solely on me because I didn't know how to manage the shot clock, where they knew how to manage the shot clock because they had been playing with it. You know, and we had the lead and we was in control of the game, but when it got down towards the end of the game, it was certain situations that I should have did some different stuff in that I couldn't do because I wasn't used to the shot clock. I was used to being able to hold the ball and get the shot that I wanted, and versus the shot clock running down and us have to take a shot that I really didn't want us to take. But so I think just because everybody else is using it, and then that happens when they get to college. Some of the kids I know not used to the shot clock because they haven't used it. And I guess, P, you probably can talk to that because you had a lot of kids from Chicago so far that wasn't able to use it.
Antoine never had a problem with a shot clock, so don't worry about that. We'll let it in later. No shot clock violation for Twan, guys.
No. So you know I'm all for it, but I would even add too. I think the one thing you did say, I think, Rob, what you're alluding to, and Ty said, it's going to make coaches have to put their thinking hat on, and really, devise a system and change their systems up a little bit. I think it's going to be great for kids. It's going to be great for point guards getting recruited. To now see college coaches can see if a kid can handle the game, manage the game, make sure, get, timely shots, those nature. But I think it will make the game more exciting. We all know high school basketball, Illinois is already really good. It's going to get even better with a shot clock. I think it's going to make the game a lot more fun. And then you just got to move with the times. I think one thing the selling point should be, you should talk about the league and where the game is evolved to. I mean, it's a three-point shoot league. It's a pick-and-roll league. It's positionless basketball. So you got to change and got to be open to change. So I think if you're selling it on that side, that the game is with the shot clock, the game is played faster. If kids want to go to college and excel and get to the pro level, this is kind of preparing them playing with a shot clock. That's something we never had in Illinois. So I think it'll be great for it. I think there's something that you got to hopefully it comes because it should make the game a lot more exciting.
Well, we can count on Twan for doing a PSA for us too. That's what we need. We're going to have PSAs. We actually want to put together a full-fledged campaign so we can show that people do want the shot clock. And it's not just for. And I was telling somebody, I hold the ball more than a lot of teams do. Why? Because I want people to play me a certain way. So I'm not going to play that way. But if you know that you only have 30, 35 seconds, I can still play you the way I want to play you. I have to become a better coach. I think
that's 30 seconds, Ty. I know 35. Let's go for 30. You look at you. Still
no. Well, no. You have to throw it out there and just see what get them to buy. But I'm with you. I want it to be 35. I mean, it to be 30 seconds myself personally. So, but again,
we're going back to 35.
Okay, I'm there. I'm with you. I'm there.
35 in the high school might not be too bad.
That's terrible. Shut up. That ain't no good.
35, right? I mean, you can go
Rob,
from,
you play Simeon, that's 8 possessions.
That's what Rob.
Hey, I'll tell you this.
Simeon, that's 8 possessions.
Look, I can tell you this. Parents won't be doing any PSAs for us, not for 35 seconds.
No, I'll take the 30. Hey, but the thing about the shot clock, actually, it was the reverse for me. Before I became a high school coach in the CPS, I had been a college basketball coach for 10 years. And Rob Smith, my teams were getting good and we were well disciplined. But Rob called me one day, was like, P, I watched y'all play you got one problem. I'm like, what's my problem? He said, you're coaching like you're coaching college basketball. You think you need to get shots on the rim. You think your guys got to take these shots because, I'm just calling plays like you do in college just to get actions for buckets. And him and Quitman Dillard at the time, I met with them. We went out to lunch and they just kind of broke it down to me. And I thought, hey, I've been a college basketball coach for 10 years. And now I had to come back and learn a whole nother system. So it'd be good for you guys as high school coaches to have to step your game up. And another thing, Ty knows this, Nick knows this as well. When it comes to AAU, I think when you go to the big time tournaments, whether it's Peach Jam or whatever, most of these kids in these other states are used to playing with the shot clock. Mm-hmm. Now you got our guys from the cities that don't have them. We're trying to coach in a different system. And if you do a breakdown of how many kids or how many teams that don't have a shot clock in their area had shot clock violations throughout the Peach Jam and stuff like that, the numbers will probably be alarming because, kids just aren't aware of it.
Yeah, and it's I'm gonna be a little upset anyway leaving the game because I've been on the shot clock for the last 12 years because I've been coaching. But it'd be a good thing for basketball and especially in the city of Chicago, where they could get another avenue of basketball where they can understand that in order to make it in college, you gotta think the game. Shot clock gotta be involved. You gotta make sound, quick decisions. And most schools around the state of Illinois, when they play guys like these, Rob and Ty, they want to hold the ball anyway. They want to hold the ball for 1 or 2 minutes. So, I mean, it'd be good to get a shot clock to the game of basketball. It'd be fun. It'd be exciting. More people would be involved in the game, and your coaching to get better. Because at the end of the day, like Ty been saying, Rob been saying, we need more guys coaching in college anyway. So this would be a good time for them to learn a lot of things and get all the bases down with the shot clock. And it ain't no secret. Chicago basketball needed. We supposed to be the mecca of basketball, but we need to have a shot clock implemented so these guys can reach their full potentials and be ready when they get to college. And that's what it's all about. That's all we ask for.
And Twan said something too that was huge. Like, it's gonna make all the players have to step their game up on knowledge of the game too. They're gonna have to understand a lot of different things. Right now, they're just playing off instincts, and people are coaching off instincts as well. Because you get to hold it. But that's true what Twan said. It's gonna make everybody have to step their game up some and become a student of the game. Per se, like before we had a lot of guys who were playing who were students of the game. Now we got a lot of guys who playing and they playing off potential because they can run, jump, and they faster than everybody right now. And that stuff kind of catch up when they get to the next level.
Yeah, I was coaching in EYBL, and you coming to the bench with 5 seconds on the shot clock. Like, what play you gonna draw? That make you a better coach. That make you a good coach. Like, okay, we got where the ball at, ref? Now you got to strategize. Where the ball at? How much time on the clock? We got to go with hurry up stuff. So you got to work on stuff like that in practice as well. So,
well, pretty much you ain't had no problem because you just gave the ball to Io or Charlie and said,
I know, just move out their way.
And I'm gonna say this because I was in the same EYBL, and normally with 5 seconds it was a lob play. Always a lob play out of the timeout. But what I will tell you though, I think for me the biggest concern, well, not even concern, one of the things that I would encourage people to do is to not say no before you even thought it through. We have so many people, you read the comments online, which they don't bother me because I always see comments, but I think everybody defaults to the first thing, the cost. The cost. There's a myriad of ways to get it done, and it's not overly expensive. Right now, we're talking to all of the companies that do the clocks. We're talking to them about pricing, and we're talking to them about how to get it done. Rob knows all those guys down in Georgia. They did so much legwork for the last 3 years that they're going to impart us with that information to help us so that we're smarter when we go in and make our proposal. Because for me, like every guy on this screen, we've all won at some level. This here is another game for us. This is another game, and we have to just like we do in our teams. We have to prepare in the preseason. We've got to get to the preseason over. We've got to get into the season. We got to condition, and then on day one, we got to be ready to play. When we present the proposal, we want to present a proposal that's guaranteed to win. And I think when we can get guys like Antoine, and we can get other professional guys and college guys and referees involved that they believe it's the right thing, then it will be the right thing. I tell you, when you think about it, if you look at the foreign game, you look at the international rules, the coaches can't even call timeout. A team is making a run. Those teams have to figure it out. You don't get to call a timeout. It has to be a stoppage in play before you can even get to a timeout. In our game, we have micromanaged it so much for our players that, like Rob said, like Antoine said, like Nick said, like Paris said, players have to become thinkers and understand the game. And when you know that you only have 35 seconds or 30 seconds to play, you understand how to manage that 30 seconds for the better or for the worse. And the other thing is, those teams that think because they may not be as talented, you get more possession. Do something well in the possessions you get. Do something well in the possessions that you get.
All right, there we go. And I think momentum will build. I mean, the only person I've talked to that didn't like it, it wasn't about cost. It was just about he knew he was in kind of a lower talent situation, and he just wanted there to be fewer possessions to help.
Yeah, but think about it.
Yeah.
Think about it, Gordon. And I don't say this in a mean-spirited way, but the game is the game. Everybody has the same opportunity to play it.
Exactly.
And you can tell me about and I'm not saying you have to say anybody. At the end of the day, oftentimes, and there are those exceptions. The better teams are generally going to win.
Well,
I know that sounds kind of bad, but more often than
Yogi Berra today.
But Ty, even at our level, on a college level, Virginia just won a national championship, our last college champion, and they hold the ball down to the last 7 or 8 seconds every possession. So it's all about what you do with your possessions when you have them.
Absolutely. You look at all the years in college basketball where the underdogs have beaten the better or supposedly higher ranked team. It wasn't because they didn't have a shot clock. It's because their coach devised a great game plan to counter that great team. It had nothing to do with a shot clock. So for those guys that are purists of basketball, that's not a legitimate argument. And I'm not saying your guy is wrong or it's bad, and I don't want people to think that we're trying to draw a line, because I respect other people's opinions, but that's why I want us to have this very robust conversation as we march towards victory.
All right. Well, any other shot clock comments before we move on?
Nope, we missed time last week.
We did.
30 seconds, Ty. I give you 30 seconds.
Yeah, wait, we have a tie clock now. All right, so there's one person on here, I think, right, that played against one of our hosts in high school, and that would be Antoine playing against Nick. Paris, did you ever play against Nick in high school?
No,
Paris,
no.
man. Paris,
me and Rob played against each other.
Paris, what you 50?
Hey, Twan, don't forget where you got Cyber Twan from, okay?
I just wonder. My bad.
Hey, 48 and proud, Twan.
Wow, good for you.
Okay.
Man,
hey, me and Rob played against each other. It was the Simeon Dunbar games at either Kennedy King, Chicago State, or IIT. Those were high-level games, the real blue and gold.
Yeah.
What was Rob like as a player? How would you break him down?
So if you guys ever seen Rob walk, he it's kind of like Patrick Beverly. Rob was a big-time defender. So if you think Patrick Beverly back in 1989, 90, Rob could really guard the basketball. And we both played for coaches that control the game, that control pieces on the floor. So we got the score when it was like just our time, and that was just it. But, you know, as far as being a competitor, like we've been competing against each other since, like I said, we were kids, but playing against them in those games that were high-level games, it was always fun.
That's crazy. So, Antoine, I got to ask you about this huge game that you had against when Nick was a freshman at St. Martin de Porres. It was Jerry G at his peak, and Nick kind of, was already a good player as a freshman. You packed, it must have been 120% capacity into the gym at Mount Carmel. It was you, Donovan, and then Jay Driscoll, who's in my viewing area. What are your memories of that game? Because this footage, it's like watching a movie. I mean, what was it like to play in that?
Unbelievable, actually, because it was a, obviously very hype game. Nick wasn't really thought about at this time. Nick was a freshman. He wasn't thought about. The game was truly about me versus Jerry G. Everybody know that. It was about me versus Jerry G. I don't know, in the state, we probably was ranked 1 to 5. We was the top 5 players in the state. And it was about our head-to-head matchup. And lo and behold, I got the game on lock. I got Jerry G on lock. And then this freshman gets hot and wants to have a career night too. I think Nick had like 21 or something like that. He wasn't even in the scout report.
25, man, don't cheat me. Don't cheat me. 25.
You had 25?
25, don't cheat me.
I knew he had something like that. So he wasn't even in the scout report. So he ended up keeping them in the game, keeping them around, having a huge game. But obviously we won. But it was the game was built. It was unbelievable. It was standing room only. It was built up to what all the hype it was going to be. And Nick stole the show because he was a freshman. Nobody, people knew who he was. You know what I mean? But to do it at that stage, at that moment, on the road, I give him a lot of credit. You know what I mean? That kind of jump started his high school career. That game, because that game was played early in the season. It was within the first 7-8 games of the season, so it was early. So that game put Nick on the map. You know what I mean? It was about me and Jerry G, but Nick showed out that day. So I give him a lot of credit for that. He still took the L. I still scored the most points in that game.
What'd you get, 40?
Nigga, I ain't keep stats in high school. I put it like this: nobody left disappointed.
The only thing I gotta say now, that was at Mount Carmel, right?
Yeah.
Yeah, it was at Mount Carmel. Yeah.
Mount Carmel. So don't disillusion the people listening like it was a million people, because the place could only hold about 50 people. So that's why we in the room only. I mean, come on now.
Hey, Ty, we had 300. We had 300 strong.
I mean, it was like playing a game literally inside like a race.
Yes.
I mean,
we had them on top of each other, Ty. See, Ty, you don't really know about. I mean, I know as you guys have tried to make yourself like household names, the Whitney Young and Simeon. No, I'm just saying. Listen,
come on, not another one. Not another one.
When I was in school.
Oh, Ty kicked off Antoine. Wait, what happened?
He can't wait to get back on for this one.
Oh, man, wait.
Yeah, he can't wait to get back on.
I wonder where this one is going.
This is a playoff.
Oh, there you
go. Thanks again, Rob.
He waits for the dramatic pause, and then he goes, bam, and he comes back.
He can't wait. He can't wait to get mute his phone.
He had to get a different phone. The other one ran out of battery.
It's happened to me.
Oh, boy. Yeah, it always happens to me.
Watch, he's going to say something like MJ called me. I had to pick it up. I cannot wait to hear this. All right,
Ty, I didn't know that you were being abused on here.
No, that's what this is. It's like 13 rings. It's like, and they just pound me. They pound me on this thing. No. Every week they go out and get people that beat me.
We always got people here that beat them.
Every week. And let me say this now.
I tried to get Chin on here with him. Chin ain't gonna come on.
That's good. Well, that's good. But he didn't beat me. He was with me. But then they told me Nick said, I'm not going to be able to beat nobody for the next 4 years last week. Oh, here we go.
Let's go.
I'm sorry, guys, for my unprofessionalism or having technical difficulties. I'm usually very professional. I usually never happen to
the team. I like this.
Yeah, so I apologize for that. But Ty.
Oh, no, I thought you forgot.
No, you was talking about the size of our gym, and I was saying, yeah, it was just, well, we probably had about 300 people. It looked like it was 3,000 people. But a lot of you public school coaches wouldn't understand about being able to play at 7:30 prime time because you guys used to have 30. Well, like, what y'all saying? Y'all play like 4 o'clock?
Well, no, not if you're the Battle of Vincennes, because Nick doesn't get to the game until about an hour and a half late. So they usually start about 8 o'clock.
I'm used to playing at 7:30. You know, at Malcolm, we play at 7:30 prime time.
Hey, Twan, I got to say one thing, Twan. Listen.
Mic drop.
You see that thing that Ty has behind him?
Oh.
CPS was worried about that way back then, okay? If we had games at 7:30, it was going to be a lot of activity.
But let me say this. We have gotten better. We are moving in the right direction. We've gotten better because normally a Simeon Morgan Park game doesn't conclude until about 10 o'clock. That's what time it is. That's what time the Battle of Vincennes is, about 10 o'clock. But, I'm glad
Nick, after you put all this extra seats in on the back baseline. And,
oh, my God, everybody. But I will say this, and Antoine knows it. Whenever he came to Whitney Young to watch his daughter perform well at Whitney Young, we had ample seating for him. So he does know about Whitney Young. It's all right. He knows. It's why she was playing.
Ty, still today, I thank you guys. I thank you for that. Appreciate it. I appreciate it, baby.
We had 2 NBA players on. We had 2 NBA player daughters on the same team. Antoine Walker, and I mean, it was unbelievable. And Aaron Williams, and Hick.
Yeah. They still together, Todd.
Yeah.
They still the same team.
They didn't have any big tall sons though, but that's okay. It's all right. They gave us tall girls for volleyball. It's all right.
You got AJ.
We got AJ, but he's not tall yet. He's not as tall as Aaron. I'm saying, man, if he ever got to be Aaron's size, wow. and when Aaron comes in the gym, I think, man, what team is he on? He's like he can play right now today. Man. So.
But Gordon, you gotta. That was the start of Nick's high school career. That's when he was on the map. He may say some other time that put Nick on the map. To play in that game, to get 25. With a show, I'm telling you, the spotlight was on me and G. He stole the show. I gotta give him some credit on that.
Did he have any? So my favorite thing to hear about is like some of the ridiculous trash talk that Nick would make. Like even when he was like really young, like sophomore year to Kevin Garnett. Did he say anything goofy to you?
Hold on, before he answer that, ask him where I got it from.
From him, right? From him.
Yeah. You gotta do a little trash talking, Gordon. Gordon, I probably did not win Player of the Year because of my mouth. There's no way Jerry G got Player of the Year over me. I'm still looking on my, you know what I'm saying? I'm still looking on my little million billions trying to find my state Player of the Year trophy, and I ain't getting one. So I'm worried about that. You know, if you don't get a state title, you just got to get Player of the Year.
Competition.
Yeah, that was the real reason, man. I probably didn't get Player of the Year. But he got Player of the Year. I went to the McDonald's game, so it was a trade-off. It was a trade-off.
But that's good, Twan. That's good that you said that, because if some kids or some parents listening to this, that they don't understand that. You know what I'm saying?
Oh, yeah. I was
you probably didn't understand it when you was younger. But then as you got older, you understood like that kind of cost me from getting this award. And of course, you was a McDonald's All-American and you played in the league and all those things. But like you said, when you looking around, you like, man, but I didn't get it because of this. You know, and if you could go back, question. You probably could go back and say, I wouldn't even do it.
I think for me, I definitely know it's me.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. But I'm saying, when we doing this for coaches and parents and kids that's listening to, so that's good that you said that, because you help some people out to understand that, because they don't get it. Some of the stuff they doing in school and just in their regular everyday lives, they're not getting that stuff. So this stuff kind of educating them too as well. So That's what this platform is for. It's just for trying to help everybody understand.
And also, Antoine, can you speak to this too? Like, you didn't find your identity in what a group of 10 people that don't know you personally thought about you at any given point. I mean, that's what these awards are. We act like it's God picking these awards. No, it's 10 human beings. You know, it's like, so, and you didn't, I mean, it's not like your career didn't spiral out of control because you didn't find your identity in winning any one award or whatever, right? I mean,
no. I mean, obviously, I won the award. You know what I mean? You definitely want the award. I just wasn't able to get it because of my attitude, because of my you know, my kind of showboating, I guess you want to call it, my trash talking through high school. Kind of that arrogant, that cocky swag. Kind of said it hurt me a little bit.
They ain't stopped that though.
It made you good though.
I'm gonna tell you something. And Pete, you can attest to this. I'm gonna tell you what was the best thing I ever did is when I went to go play for Rick Pitino.
Okay.
Because he was a disciplinarian.
Okay.
So without everything I got away with in high school, I couldn't get away with that. Because you guys know at that time, Coach Pitino is coming into his own. He's bigger than life. Mm-hmm. And the respect factor was there. So the first thing I remember my freshman year, I'm playing. I'm thinking I'm gonna play 25 minutes a night, 30 minutes a night, and it wasn't like that. And I came Christmas time, we got a little break to come home, and I remember going to the office with coach, and I was like, man, I'm thinking about transferring. He was like, all right, let me know. He was like, let me know when you get back if you want to leave or not. The fact that he didn't fight for it.
Let me know.
Yeah, he said, let me know.
Hey, that was a hell of a team he was on too.
And he was like, man, the fact that he didn't fight for me, and he was like, look, you know what I mean? Like, I got 10 other All-Americans sitting right here. You know, you're gonna get with the program. This is how it's gonna be. And I went home and realized I was like college schools, like they was like, yeah, but you gotta sit out. I was like, shit, I guess I'll go back then and try to figure it out. So it took me a whole year to figure it out. And
right.
You know, as we got to as the season got on, we got to the SEC tournament, and I got my opportunity and ended up being SEC, winning the MVP of the SEC tournament. But it took a while, and that's what a lot of kids don't understand, like your attitude. So he just the discipline he taught me. I come from a single parent home, so the father figure that he put on me as far as working hard every day, focusing on academics. Everything I did in high school, he did not let me get away with. And that was probably the biggest thing. And a lot of kids don't get that sometimes. And sometimes a lot of kids fail sometimes because in high school, if you don't have that discipline put on you and then you get to college, you can't accept it. Mm-hmm. But I was able to do so. That was the best decision I made by picking that type of coach. And I had some different coaches that probably would have did it differently, but that coach was the perfect coach for me.
Hey, real quick, I think Ty remember this well because he coached Juwan. Juwan didn't win the 1991 Player of the Year either. And it was clearly he was the best player in our class, the best player in the state. But it was a little routine they would do after they won games where their team would get together and they do like a dance that they kicked your tail or whatever. And the people didn't vote for him. And it wasn't anything that, I mean, he was a fiery guy, you know, he wasn't Twan-like. Twan was special in his own right, but I think he still deserved to win that award. You know what I mean? Regardless of all the other stuff, like the best player is the best player.
I got robbed too my same year too, so same. I averaged 30 a game, and I still didn't get it. Hey, how you take my award? You got my award. That was my award. I was getting 50s and 60s, man. That's my award. You know?
Hey, so,
that 95? 95?
That seems like it hurts. That seems like it hurts a little bit. Somebody needs to give Nick a hug.
He give me a hug every time he see me, every time we talk. He give me a hug like, man, this is your trophy, huh?
And then the last thing I would just add on a serious note, so guys understand, you talking for young kids that may listen to this, it's a reason why a lot of guys, some of their favorite players are not in the league right now. It's because of attitude. Like we like, man, why he got, like you see a J.R. Smith right now, why he not in? He not in because of his attitude. You look at, it's a lot of different guys that kind of get ran out the league because of their attitude. Even though they make it, you got to be able to stick. There's a certain way you got to carry yourself, a way you got to handle things, no matter how much money you got. And when those attitudes start to take place, they'll run you out the league immediately when you don't humble yourself and do things the right way. So a lot of young players got to understand that you got to always have a certain attitude when you play in this game if you want to be successful. It don't matter from high school to pros, because a lot of the guys, they think same thing with Melo. Like, it's a humbling thing. Like, your attitude, your swag, you still think you Melo from 7 years ago. He had to humble himself and say, I'm gonna accept the role. A lot of guys don't want to do that. So young guys got to understand that. That's why things like this happen for a lot of guys when you're not able to continue your career.
So Antoine,
go ahead,
Rob. Go ahead. No, you go ahead. I'll come back to you.
So I know what you're talking about, that part, Antoine, is good for, like, me, Ty, and Nick right now. We seen that a lot because of the players that we were getting, and when they were coming from elementary school, which is, I'm gonna say it's a joke right now, but they were able to get away with everything. And then when they get to us and we try to coach them and have them be the right way, then we're wrong. You got parents saying you're doing them wrong. You got this. We're just trying to get you to the point to what you're saying. So when these coaches come look at you, they're going to understand that you are a good person. You can be coached, and all those different things. But I don't think some parents get that because they so used to doing what they want to do and being in control, and then when they run into guys like us who, like, hey, just like you said, PITINO, all right, just let me know what you're going to do. Hey, I just went through that. I'm being honest with you. I just went through it.
Right.
Somebody, they said they was leaving. Hey, you got to do what's best for your son.
Yeah.
I'm cool with it. Because at the end of the day, you can't run this place. You might be able to run some other places and do some other stuff, but you can't run this place. And you was at Kentucky. Right. That's going, if you go, somebody else coming in the door just as good as you or whatever. You know what I'm saying? So I don't think that kids and parents kind of get that, and they're not, right now, they don't want to be coached. They just want their babies to play. Yeah. And they gotta be coached, because when they come to get to the next level with P and Nick now, me and P kind of talk about it, and Nick gonna see it too. Now you're gonna be like, you didn't learn this in high school? You don't know this terminology from high school? The coach never taught. And it's because they just went to play. They didn't learn the game.
Mm-hmm. So I think last week, didn't you guys ask questions? Do I get to ask a question? Because I have questions. Because last week I wasn't here. I want to ask some questions. And really, I have two questions. One, Nick, and I'm going to exclude you because you're the baby in this thing again. Sure. I'm going to go to a veteran college coach, okay, first. Yes, and then I'm coming back to Antoine. But on a very real note, what is it that, what can you share with young people that are going to hear this broadcast, parents? What are college coaches looking for a recruitable athlete? Not a particular athlete, but just an overall. What are college coaches looking for? And to what Rob said, what is the number one thing that in all your college years, I'm not talking about at Milwaukee, but all your college years, what is the one thing that most of these players are confused by when they first walk on campus? And then I'm coming back to you, Twan, so get ready. Get ready.
The first thing, that most colleges are going to look for is character, because you're putting someone in a community, in a campus community, and they're representing your team. Like, this is the way we feed our family. So the first thing you want to do is find kids with, everybody's not going to be perfect. There are imperfect kids out there. But you look for character first. And one thing that kids don't know, dealing with parents that are overly involved, and Ty, you don't allow this. Nick kind of did, and Rob kind of did. I would go to Simeon or Morgan Park, and it'd be parents all in the stands watching practice. So we're not looking for people who are bringing a package with them. I want a student athlete that wants to come and get better and grow every day, as a person, as a student, and as a player. But we don't want those parents that are overly involved, that's trying to live vicariously through their sons or daughters, have it be on the female side. But character is the biggest thing. For me, I watch everything. I watch how you interact before you get on, before you get on the court with your teammates. Before I want to see if you're dapping up the coach. Like when the coach is talking in the huddle, are you tight? Are you locked in? When you come out the game, when things aren't going well, that's what I want to see. Because everybody can, my mother, my wife, they can go pick out a player that's got everything going good and life is good for them on that day. I want to see what you're like when there's some adversity, whether it's just in a school period or in the live game action. So the biggest thing for me, and I know a lot of other college coaches, because what we're dealing with and the culture we're dealing with right now is character. Guys that you can trust, that when you leave campus at night, you go home, be with your family, you'll be able to sleep, and they're going to be trusted to do the right thing on campus and off the campus.
Second question, what is the biggest thing that these players are not prepared for the moment they walk on your campus to start being a basketball player?
One thing is, me and Rob talked about it a lot, is just the discipline. You can be taught discipline and cultural stuff one time, but at one another time. But the biggest thing is a lot of guys come in without understanding how to play with others. And we're in a world right now where it's just, everybody's in the selfie world. You're taking pictures of yourself. You're training by yourself. So everybody, you look on Instagram, Twitter, everybody's working out with one person in the gym and they got cones and balls and pads. None of that stuff is happening on the court. You are learning to play by yourself. You're not passing the balls. The biggest thing to get to your question is, you'd be surprised. Guys don't know how to pass and catch. Simple pass and catch. I remember in high school, we couldn't shoot a ball for 3 weeks because we had to make sure we were doing a 3-man weave and chest passes up and down the court without dropping the basketball. Those little simple, basic things of the game, but everybody comes on your campus and the first thing they do is want to work their step back. They want to work a look that a professional is doing. And then we have these guys training these kids that really don't understand. There's a guy that trains kids in Chicago that is well known, and he gets a lot of publicity for doing it. He was training a guy, said, man, if you talk to him about the back action, and he's like, what is that? This is simple basketball. You come off a screen, you're reading the defender, you're reading the tag guy, you either hitting the roll guy, you throwing it back to the guy that's shaking out the corner. These are things that are simple. He had no idea what I was talking about, but he's like, people are paying him, and he's saying he's the guru, the best in the city of Chicago, but he hasn't watched games. He hasn't put in any work to do this. So the kids come in unequipped with really knowing how to play and understanding the game time.
Thank you. So I'm going to stop doing those step back drills. I'm done with those. I'm going to jump over no more jumping over the garbage cans.
Hey, Ty, I've never seen that in one of your practices.
Well, because we don't do it when the coaches come. We don't want them to see all of that. But to you, Antoine, and I think so many times, I think a lot of times in Chicago, because you are so visible, people take what you are and what you were for granted, really. I mean, you are an all-star. You are a gazillion-dollar kind of guy. And it's just amazing. But one of the things that I ask you, a champion, multiple times.
On both levels.
He makes his 15 rings. So I'll ask you this. Two things, really, really, really. You just mentioned one thing, that guys keep making the same mistakes and being booted out of the league or college or wherever it is. And so my simple answer to that is, why, when we have so much knowledge about guys that are being put out, it's not like, well, they got put out and nobody knows. Everybody knows why these guys are getting put out. That's one. And who gave you the best advice from college to the NBA that you feel that when you think about it, you're like, man, that was phenomenal advice, and that sticks with you today? And what was that advice, and who was it that gave it, if you're willing to share?
Well, I think to answer the first question, I think the problem is and one thing about it is, we get guys go in and make it to the league, and making it is one part, but it's a lot of work that goes along to stay in the league to have successful careers. I've been on teams where I've seen guys got drafted in the first round and lottery picks, and career ends after 3 years. And a lot of it just becomes from just the work ethic and attitude of not having certain type of discipline that they need coming out of college, coming out of high school and college. And the great thing that I've been fortunate enough to be is I play for really strict coaches that have been very beneficiary in my life, or at least in my basketball career. From the Rick Pitino, from the Pat Rileys, Don Nelson, Hall of Fame coaches that are no nonsense guys that you have to get with the program or get out, that made things hard for me, and made sure that I kind of stayed in the straight and narrow. But it's hard. I mean, my career didn't end the way I wanted to. I would love to play 17, 18 years and thought I could have played that. But when you make mistakes off the court and not handle yourself properly the way you need to, you can get booted out the league. And I think a lot of guys don't understand that. I take a buyout from Memphis in 2009 or 10 and not listening to my agent, don't have a team to go to, just take a buyout thinking the team is going to pick me up. And while I'm waiting on the team to pick me up, I get a DUI. That's a simple mistake that shows these teams that, hey, he probably is not serious no more about the game. He doesn't want to play. Next thing you know, I can't get back in the league. And it happens. And it happened to me. Just it's a way you have to carry yourself a certain way. And a lot of young guys that come to the game don't understand that it's not all about just playing. You got to have the right attitude and the right mindset when you play in the league. If you want to have long careers, of course you got to produce, but it is other parts of it. You think Vince Carter played 22 years in the league because he was still productive? His last 6 years, Vince Carter didn't average over 5 points a game, but he had the right attitude, the right work ethic. We still watch so many guys get the extra 3-4 years in the league because they have the right attitude. And that's what a lot of young guys got to understand. Sometimes it's not just about putting it in the hole and scoring a bunch of points, but if you carry yourself the right way, those things happen. And to answer the second part of your question, I would say the one that always stuck with me, and I've mentioned his name several times already, but it has to be Rick Pitino. He really took me in. My mom's a single parent mom. Like I said, I never had any discipline when I came out of high school as far as working out, paying attention to detail, working on my body, working on my game. I was tall, I was talented. And then I got with him, he taught me all that stuff. And he also taught me how to be a man. To the simple things as how to tip, go to the restaurant and understand that people in the restaurant, the waitresses are working there in service, so tipping them properly. I mean, it was just the simple things like that he's always taught me. And he obviously coached me in the pros, which was a little rocky. And then obviously through his personal trials and tribulations, my personal trials and tribulations, he's always been there for me. So it's been Rick Pitino's been the one guy, the things that he's instilled and taught me throughout my career that's always stuck with me.
Nick, this was a good pickup of Twan today. You picked up a good pickup today, man.
Well, not all of it. Not all of it. Oh, most of it, but there was one part that wasn't good. So we'll forget about the part.
Twan, he got rid of his brother for you.
Dang. All I know is this. I'm tired of him with all these nice pickups. Enough is enough.
I'll be honest. Nick told me about a month ago. Their job was doing a podcast, but he never told me the concept. Like he never said he's like 13 rings. I never knew what the whole concept was. He was just like, all of us doing a podcast about how you come on. I was like, all right, just let me know whenever you want to do it. And I'm like, Nick, I'm free. It's quarantine, buddy. Ain't nobody go outside, so just whenever you want me to do it, just let me know. But I would say this real quickly though. I think this is a great what you guys did. I jumped in the podcast space for a little while, but to get great basketball minds from Illinois, and I do believe this America. Obviously, I'm biased. I'm from Chicago. But we need to start, people need to start to know that. People don't know how great of coaches, all you guys are and what y'all mean to the city of Chicago. And I add P in there. I always think about you. When I think about P, all of the players that you made successful, because I was when P's out recruiting high school guys, I always tease him about certain players that he signs. And he breaks it down to me how he's going to be good. And you know what I think about P all the time when I see Kendrick Nunn? Yeah, because I remember Kendrick Nunn. He wasn't highly recruited like that, but I remember you telling me like, Twan, he the real deal, and like I just think about all the guys that you've taken. But these are great basketball minds that we have in the city of Chicago that don't get the national recognition. So I think this is great. I think this is going to go big for you guys. You don't get the national recognition.
Did you say Kendrick Nunn?
Yeah, Kendrick Nunn, yeah.
Oh, shit. Y'all should have called me. He beat me 4 times. What are you talking about? You're a great player. Again, another shot at me. Another shot at me. There we go. I mean, I just told you all that he was that man. I mean, come on. He was the only guy that we had no answer for ever.
Hey, Ty, in city of Chicago, people question, like, I would go to Rob, like, are these people crazy? His freshman year, the first day of practice, he came in, Rob said, that's Melvin Nunn's son over there. I said, Melvin, they used to play. He said, watch him. Kendrick was skinny and just didn't say a word. And I watched him, and I said, dang, Rob. And after his senior year, people still, even after winning 4 state championships and, you know, being the Robin to the Batman and Jabari, people still question, like, if he should be in the Big Ten. They was like, you know, he's not a Big Ten player.
I didn't think
now
so.
they know.
I mean, you convinced me.
Yeah, the question should be how Rob get them from me. Was at Morgan Park.
Well, you know what? All I can say is he convinced me every time he played me. And when I beat Rob after he graduated, I told the guys in the locker room, we got a better chance because they don't have Kendrick this year. So I know he can play. So I don't know about anybody else, but I know he can play.
Yeah, Kendrick was always good. He was
One thing about
ops, boy.
One thing people don't know about Kendrick, man, his work ethic is unbelievable. He's not afraid to work, and that's why like I'm not surprised at his success. When he went to Oakland and we played them, and I first got to Milwaukee, I just told my guys, whatever y'all do, just don't say nothing to him. He gave us 38 points on us twice. And I knew everything that was coming. Everything else was coming back.
Man, he get to that jump shot quick too.
Man, Twan, I appreciate that though, Twan. I really do.
Nah, man. I remember everything, all that stuff, man. But no, you guys got to keep this going, man. This is huge for Chicago. To have 3, you know, obviously Nick, you've moved on to college, but to have, you know, you guys basketball, man, it'll help a lot of these other coaches out. Understand, you know, how serious you guys take it, how dedicated and committed you are. You know, one of my best friends, you know, Lawrence Briggs, that's my guy, but I get on him all the time of his level of commitment to coaching at, you know, at Phillips. You know, it's a lot of hard work, and I go watch his games, and you know, I wish he would have gave him 2 more extra months. That could be that much better. And you know, you guys are, you know, the example of success and how hard you work. So I think you guys, when this started to come out and they started to hear how you guys touch on topics and how you guys relate to kids, hopefully it motivates some of our other high school coaches to put the effort and energy in it, because we need it in Chicago. We all know our youth and how bad it is in Chicago. So I wouldn't want to be in y'all shoes, though. I'm not gonna lie to you. I couldn't do it.
But Twan,
kids in this town.
When Nick and Gordon, you know, they first reached out and called about us doing it, it was just set up right because, you know, people would never think that we'd be on this thing together, especially us 3, because of how competitive we was with each other on trying to win. And when we all got on, I'm pretty sure people was like, it ain't gonna work. You know what I'm saying? So that's why it's important for me to make it work.
Yeah.
Because people saying that it ain't gonna work. And it ain't like that. We're trying to help everybody. Like you said, Twan, where we at and what we going through right now, we need all the help we can get from each other. And it's kind of like when me and Ty started the Chicago League Classic. Everybody said it wasn't going to work because of how competitive we are against each other when we playing against each other. But it has nothing to do with what we're trying to do for kids in the city of Chicago. So that's what I think people kind of get mixed up, our competitive natures against each other and what we're trying to accomplish for kids. So I got a guy who is just a regular fan. He's going to text me at 8 o'clock and ask me to send him this link. Every night he asked me for the link, and he didn't listen to every one of them. And he can tell me, he says what was good, what was bad, what was this, but every night about 8, he say, don't forget to send me the link. So we do have some people that is chiming in. We wish we can get more. And we are inviting other people in, but I think this was a good one. I think last week was good too because we got some different insight on what we're trying to do.
So I got a question. We got two amazing basketball minds here as guests this week. You know, Rob explained that part of the genesis of this show was debunking mystery. That there's a lot of misinformation about these guys, about their relationship. You know, anytime somebody hires a coach from the public league, they act like there's some sort of sorcery going on behind the scenes, like he has public league ties. So just like sort of shedding light on these ridiculous, you know, misunderstood topics. So my question to you guys is, what is the misunderstood topic or mysterious topic in the Chicago basketball realm that you would love to see an episode on? Like, what's one question where like, man, whatever happened to that one school, or what really happened with that decision, or something that's sort of unknown that you would like an answer to in the Chicago basketball history?
Oh, that's a loaded question there, man.
Man, go ahead, A-Dub. Let's see what you got. I know you got something up there, man. I know you know something. You in Paris, man. I know y'all know one.
I mean, that's a loaded question. I mean, you know, I think that's you know, one thing I always thought that was always bad for high school basketball. I don't know how you guys felt about it. The seeding of how we get to our state champion. You guys have to battle each other, and we only get one. I would love to see you guys in Champaign, where it's a Morgan Park, a Simeon, and a Whitney Young all downstate, instead of having to knock each other off, you know, in city. You know, I think that's, people don't understand how hard it is to be a state champion. Mm-hmm. And that's why you have to value, that's why it's such a privilege to be around guys who have won it as much as you guys have won it. It is hard, man. I've been to one NBA finals, and I know how hard it is to get to the finals, and it's one of the best memories of my life. So I understand that when guys be like, well, I feel good when I can say, man, I got one, you ain't get one. You know what I mean? Because I know it's hard. That's why I have a lot of respect for LeBron James, for Kobe Bryant, because they got there. I know sometimes their record's obviously not better than Michael Jordan, but to get there, I mean, LeBron gets there this year, be 10 times. You know how hard it is to get to that level and play for a championship. So I just think in high school basketball in Illinois, the world doesn't know how hard it is for you guys to win a state title, because you got to battle each other. You know, from the history of it, you used to have to battle each other. I know now it's some classes you can class it. You know, you guys are different classes, but you have to battle each other to get downstate to win the title. So I think that's the one thing that people don't understand that needs to be highlighted more and talked about more. That you guys have to battle each other just to get downstate.
Yeah.
How about Twan? How about a player that you want to know whatever happened to him from decades ago? From today?
Hey, you know what's crazy? I just was with the guys talking about this 2 days ago. I never knew the Ronnie Field story, how we didn't make it. I never knew Ronnie Field story. I knew, and they told me it was a couple things, and you guys can help me out. He ended up catching, so they tried to get a rape case, and then obviously I know about the car accident. But why Ronnie Fields never really made it, I didn't know the ending to Ronnie Fields' story. But for whatever reason, I just didn't know, and then we was talking about it, why he did not make it.
Yeah, I got to see that.
Somebody can help me out.
I forget what it's called. I forget what the name of it is, but there's a documentary out there. I think it's on YouTube actually, that Cameron Garnett helped with.
That's the one guy I want to his story should be highlighted a little bit more. Yeah. And it was a bit mystery to me how Ronnie Fields' situation didn't work out.
And you know what? I actually just sent our producer a text message to tell him, let's get Ronnie Fields on the podcast. I just sent it to
that would be great.
Yeah, you can get Ronnie. You can get Ronnie.
Yeah, Rob should be getting it right now. Yeah,
Rob, the producer.
We talked about it. I just sent that.
I have no problem with it. I'll work on it as soon as we get out there.
Hey, you can get him.
All you have to do is ask for it. All you have to do is ask for it on this podcast.
Yeah.
Oh, I can try to get both of them. That'd be good.
That'd
be a great one. Hey,
Twan, you know what else we?
Antoine is our assistant producer now. My God.
Twan and Pete, you know what what we've been talking about on here too, guys who that don't get enough credit throughout the city, on a consistent basis. Twan, you might be a little different because you played with these guys all the time, but regular guys will not give a Tim Hardaway, and we don't give them, enough credit that they should be getting here in Chicago. Just the regular guys that I'm talking about. I mean, I know you played with them and played against them, so you're gonna definitely give it to them. But it's some other guys who not giving those guys. Terry Cummings, and we don't give them guys enough credit for what they did for basketball here in Chicago.
That's true.
That's crazy. But my guys, I grew up going to Kennedy King. I never made it to Chicago State, but I saw Terry Cummings, Ken Norman, Ricky Green at the end of his thing playing. I saw those guys play and kind of be the centerpieces of Chicago. Tim Hardaway, obviously in his prime, and people don't know that Tim was the first person after Nike didn't put the money up, the first person to carry the torch to keep the summer league going.
Right.
Really?
And we know you did it multiple times, big homie.
I did that. Yeah, but I took over. But I learned from Tim. I got it from Tim. Tim kind of passed the torch to me. Those guys, never really, those guys sometimes people don't understand. Even the Sonny Parkers, how big Sonny's been for the city of Chicago.
Right.
People don't recognize that sometimes. These guys that have established the game and kept it going. That's why I get so mad sometimes at our younger guys not carrying this torch the way it needs to be carried throughout, because we got some great pros still from Chicago. We don't have as many as we had back in the day. I mean, when I was in the league, we probably was 30 strong.
Oh,
that's a lot when you talk about.
That's a lot.
400. And at that time, it wasn't 450 players. The rosters weren't mandatory to carry 15. At that time, teams would carry 12 and 13 guys. So to have 30 guys in the league was crazy. You know what I mean? Juwan, Mike, those guys that helped establish Chicago basketball to where it is today.
So in that 98 All-Star game, did you and Tim, did you ever have a moment where you're kind of like, hey, we're Chicago guys, and this, the world is watching us, we're two Chicago kids, or were you really that close back then?
No, we wasn't really. We obviously knew each other very well, knew of each other. That experience for me, I was like, could you imagine Christian Laettner on the Olympic team, that Olympic team in '92? See, you don't even remember him being on that team. You see what I'm saying? And to that documentary came out, you didn't even know I was on that team. See, that's the crazy part. So
on the All-Star team?
On the 98 team, you would think, until the Last Dance came out, and people was like, damn, Twan was in the All-Star, was on that team.
Hey, Twan.
That's how you think about Christian Laettner on the 92 team. And I just told you, Christian Laettner was on that team. You forgot Christian Laettner was on the team.
I remember that 98 All-Star game because you was in your glory because they let you play point guard to start the dang game.
Oh, yeah. You know that.
Yeah, you know I did.
I definitely remember that.
Hey, P, and I did a hell of a job. You know how many
you did. You was playing alongside the greats, and you was the point guard at 6'9".
Yeah, I had to feed Mike. You know what I'm saying? Reggie Miller.
Look, I had to feed Mike.
I mean, you know what I'm saying? I had to get them guys involved. That was a big moment for me.
Big fella was the point guard. That's all he ever wanted. Yeah. Hey, he was in his glory.
Man, I was mad I couldn't go. I said, "Damn, I can't even go to the All-Star game."
Man, listen, that was a special moment. But I was Gordon. I didn't lie to you, Gordon. Gordon, I was the little man in the room. I was the little man in the room. I just kind of rode the wave, and then the talk that whole time. The whole talk was that could be Michael's last game. So that was the whole thing. So I barely got a few interviews, man. But don't worry about it. I made up for it.
I paid up for it.
You remember seeing all the cameras?
Hey, I was all-star off the court in New York. Don't worry about that. I took care of business on the court.
That's 13 things.
That's what people miss because, I mean, Twan was an all-star. Like, people got to understand that. They sometimes forget about that. Man, they can't forget about stuff like that. That's history.
Wait,
history.
Nick, he was on a cover of 2K. He was on the cover of a video game.
Actually, P, I was the third cover ever.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying. Like, that's huge.
Wait,
But
wasn't
those
it
are
live? I thought it was
But
live.
see, them the things that
Yeah,
we
it
were
was.
talking
It
about.
was
that
live.
people don't know.
Yeah.
My fault, Gordon. I don't do video games.
NBA Live.
NBA Live
Yeah.
99. I see it right
But-
here.
Yeah, Twan had
But
his own
Twan-
shoe too. He had employee number 8.
Well,
Yeah.
that's what we're
I had
talking
that.
about. Like, people don't know that, and people don't
Uh-huh.
talk about that. So, like, you know your history and you know your Chicago basketball.
Mhm.
These kids don't know nothing about that, and that's why we can't be. That's why I think we're not as successful as we should be, because we don't give homage to the people that was before us, and we don't even understand those things. Like, kids should be sitting around you every time they see you, trying to pick your brain on how they gonna get to this next point.
Mhm.
Some people can come in the gym and they don't even know who they are. You can have somebody come in the gym who was a
that's true.
professional, and some kids wouldn't even know who they were. They don't even know, because they don't know their history. It's
It
no
happens
way
all the
we
time with
was
Mark
growing up.
McGuire.
That's what I'm saying. It's no way when we was growing up, an NBA player could walk in the gym and we didn't know who
We
they
didn't
were.
know who he was.
Right.
That's true.
We would know
True.
because we know our history. These kids don't know. If you're not LeBron, you're not Kobe, and you're not them guys, they bypass
Well,
everybody else.
and then to add to it, Rob, you know what's crazy is that if you don't know the pros, the good thing, the one thing about us, we know high school basketball in Chicago and Illinois. It's great guys that have unbelievable stories. For whatever reason, they didn't make it.
Right,
We just
yes,
mentioned
definitely.
Ronnie Fields, the Jamie Brandons, the Amari Soy, guys that are huge names, and we know them for high school, are great basketball talent. And you just said it, Ty, one of the biggest names, and it's unfortunate, and people don't even know this, but Mark McGuire should be in the Hall of Fame, and we don't know why he's not.
That's
He's
crazy.
arguably the best. He's arguably the best player to ever play in Illinois. I mean, he's number one on my list. When you look at the stats, he's number one pick, stayed home. I mean, everything. You know, he did it at the level, and it's crazy that he's not in the Hall of Fame. I don't think a lot of kids even know the history. Don't know the history of Mark McGuire and how good he really was.
Mark McGuire was a bad
All
boy.
these people know that.
Three-time All-Star.
But that's what we have to get back to. We gotta get back to that, of people knowing their history, man.
And then another thing Twan did, you know, he used to coach the AAU team back then too. I used to warm us up, you know, get it when they started playoffs. And then he'd come in July and take the team over though. But you know, he always gave back on and off the court. Man, he did that. That's what he did, and a lot of NBA guys never really came back like that. You know, he always came back and, you know, coached the AAU programs. He did the camps. He did his camps. And he was putting on for Chicago and the whole. Everywhere he went, he represented Chicago. And that's one thing I love about him and learned about him. It's always, you know, love your city, love where you from, and always help the next person. And, man, he that's Twan right there.
Hey, Nick, in the words of his good buddy Chin, nobody's ever done it better.
No.
You know,
Not
Chin
at all.
said, as soon as you missed the Twan name, Twin said, no one's ever done it better.
No. Hey, nobody can't say nothing bad about big fella around me. Never.
Hey,
Hey, I was lucky, man. I was taught by the best, man. I was taught by the guys that was in front of me, and I pay a lot of respects to those guys. But they got my toughness. Everything was born and bred in the city of Chicago. This is where you learned everything. That's why I'm so excited about what y'all doing. Y'all carrying that torch, because I really want to see Chicago on top. I just know how competitive we are. I know how hard we work. I know how much we love the game of basketball. You know, now obviously it's more global in the rankings, but I remember in 8th grade being in the Sun Times, you know, when there wasn't no internet and you actually read the newspaper. And we look forward to getting ranked, you know. You look forward to being ranked as a young kid, to see where you was at. So I just remember all those things that came with playing in Chicago and got my toughness. Like, no offense, but I get mad when they be like Kevin Garnett from Chicago. That shit pissed me off. Like, Well, Common was rapping at All-Star Weekend, and he mentioned Kevin Garnett. That blew me. Like that, like he ain't Chicago. You had a few guys. You had a few guys in the street bring you up and play for 1 year. You ain't Chicago. You ain't built. You ain't
looking good.
Yeah, you ain't built from this. You ain't built. You're not built from this. Don't get me wrong. Great player, unbelievable player, but you weren't from Chicago, man. You know,
this is how you know Antoine's the true Chicago guys. The fact that the most animated all call was right there. That's right.
Yeah. So you can't do that. So that's just how I am about it. So I just try to set the example. And we still got guys do stuff. I mean, I watch guys. I wish they were more vocal. I mean, I love Derek. Derek does a lot for the city of Chicago. Rob, I probably know all the things he's close to and those things he does. But we know Derek does a lot. And that's a lot, you know what I'm saying? So it's still guys that do stuff. You know, Jabari does a lot for Chicago as well. Those guys are, examples of young guys that give back. They may not get the recognition that they deserve, but we got some young guys doing it. We just need all of them to start contributing and making sure Chicago stays on top.
So, Paris, what's the one mysterious topic you want to see explored? What do you want us to do in an episode?
Well, I'm glad I have this platform to do this. And my thing is based around Chicago family basketball and recruiting. When people talk about ties to Chicago, there's a lot of guys that are coaching now that's from the CPS and around the state. But here's my deal. I've coached in a lot of different places. And the thing I learned when I went out to Maryland, the brotherhood and the connectivity of the people in the Maryland area, Maryland, Baltimore, D.C. area, I was coming there to offer kids scholarships. Kids who probably couldn't afford to pay for school themselves. But because I wasn't from there, I had to wait my turn, and they had to make sure the guys out of their area were well taken care of before they took care of somebody from the outside. And this is one thing I knew that I would love to talk about, because I can remember when I first left Morgan Park and went to Illinois State. Rob Smith had won 2 or 3 state championships at this time. Ty had been very successful in what he's doing as a high school coach. I don't think he had
That means I hadn't won one. That means I hadn't won one yet.
He hadn't won one yet. But he was on his way. When they came down to speak at camp at Illinois State, and it was also our guy that was at Crane, big fella at Crane. Longstreet. They had never even been on here's 3 coaches that had some of the best players in the state of Illinois, had never even been invited to come down and visit the campus of Illinois State. These are things that we got to correct. And for us, we can do it with the power of togetherness. I'm not a high school coach anymore, but between AAU and coaches in our area, we have to make sure we're taking care of our own first. And then that's how these kids get the knowledge of who was before them. When you get a coach that comes in, and when Nick was a high school coach, we had this heart-to-heart. They came into a tournament at Orr. The coach was at Oklahoma State. He brought him in with him. I said, Nick, y'all walking this dude around like he's all good. And we got a kid from Simeon sitting on a bench that was at Kansas State. We got a kid from Simeon that was the player of the year in JUCO. He can't get off the bench. So why are we walking him around making people think like it's okay and they're not taking care of our kids? I was coaching at another school, but when you're from Chicago, you're ours. I want all kids from all areas to be successful, but when you're from where I'm from, we have to take care of that. I just want us as a whole, as a Chicago basketball community, to make sure we're taking care of our own. I said this to Nick, and I can verbalize this on here, and I refer to being from a basketball family, and Nick and Mr. Irvin, I played for him. Mr. Irvin probably had more juice than any other player, any other person in any other state in the country here in Illinois. Back when we was playing high school basketball, him and Mr. Ford Harris, they had the Nike leagues, and I remember going as a young coach and watching Mr. Irvin walk in the gym, and Sonny Vaccaro, who's one of the most powerful men in basketball, would not walk up to him, but run up to him and hug him because of how important he is. And this is how much this means to me. And Nick knows this. I told him this. Mr. Danny Hurley out of New York City has 2 sons. They both started out as high school basketball coaches. They are now 2 of the most highest paid college basketball coaches in the country. And I believe that because their community took care of them to watch them be successful. I am so happy for Nick to be where he is at Western Illinois. I'm happy for Lance to be able to go from assistant coach at Morgan Park to Chicago State to a Division I program that's usually unheard of. I'm proud of that. But we're talking about a family that Antoine played for as well that's got that's coached 50-plus pro players. Nick won 3 state championships. How many city championships?
4 states.
4 states?
Yeah.
How many
That
cities,
would be
Nick?
me with 3.
I'm sorry.
I won 1.
How many cities, Nick?
1 city.
1 city. Rob, how many cities you got?
7.
Can we stop with
How
this
many
right
states?
there? Let's get right to your point.
6.
Can we get to your point, please?
Here's my point.
That's your
For out of all the success, and Nick's coached 3 or 4 player of the years as well. Rob and Ty, I don't know where they are. You know, I never, you know, maybe when Ty was younger, he wanted to get in the coaching game. Rob had some opportunities, but he, you know, we've talked about this. But for Nick to be a young guy that's been trying to break into the college game for all this time, it took a guy that was the head coach from Milwaukee to go be an assistant in Minnesota, come back and take a job that's going to be a tough job that Nick's making it seem like it's going to be real easy for them, to give him his first opportunity at a school that's not known for being a successful basketball program. Those are the things that we have to change because we can control that as a Chicago basketball community. So, and I bring up the Hurley family because their communities made sure they were taken care of and got success. We don't have, there's guys that I know that's want to recruit Chicago that think they're tied to Chicago, but as soon as they get a head coaching job, they don't call any of the guys, high school coaches in Chicago to see if they want an opportunity. I was blessed that somebody spoke to Tim. When I became a high school coach after being in college, I had a player that was at Illinois State. He was their best player. I coached him. He wanted to leave. There was an opportunity for me to say, okay, my guy wants to leave. I want him to stay here, but what are you doing for him to make him comfortable? And what are you doing for the city of Chicago since you don't have to come in here and recruit? He said, I heard you had experience. Would you like to join my staff?
Then he called me.
And he called you
me and said, do you know Paris Parham? I said, yeah, I know.
And those are the things that we can, those are the things we have to try to be able to control in our city because I see it all the time. Guys come into Chicago. Everybody thinks they can come into Chicago without hiring a Chicago guy. And I just think we got enough qualified guys. There's nothing that I've done in my 25 years as a college assistant that Ty couldn't do or Rob couldn't do and maybe even do it better because look at Nick. Because of his connections, he's got Western Illinois going to be a top 3 favorite in their league. Otherwise, that was a team I was trying to get on my schedule because I was trying to schedule wins. We don't want to play them now.
You're right.
But we have to make sure we're taking care of our communities. I don't know if anybody's ever reached out. Antoine's got an unbelievable basketball mind. I don't know if people ever come in town like, okay, like who can help me, connect the bridge by me being an outsider to Chicago. We have a lot of guys that can, and it's not about me, it's about helping other people. And those are some things I want to see changed or talked about, how we can make sure we're taking care of our community first before we branch out and send guys all over the country.
I think if you go back to episode 3, the 13 rings, Ty gonna have you set up, bro.
Yeah.
Okay.
I think that was episode 3.
It's 3 guys I never worried about. I never worried about Ty, Rob, and Nick. Nick, first of all, Nick couldn't do it because all the people that didn't want Nick to have that job at Morgan Park, when Pops called, I said, I just don't worry about it.
Don't worry about it. I got it.
I got it.
Well, let me just say this.
That's
There's
true.
nobody happier for Nick that he has that college job than me. I am happy he's out of the public league. I'm happy for Nick.
I was at the last game y'all played each other.
That's why I'm happy he's out. I'm happy he's out.
Hey, P, man, like, one thing about you, man, you always been 100. You always been the same. You always try to help everybody every chance you get. And, man, I just want to thank you because, man, when Morgan Park came over and I was a little, you know, like, man, I don't know if I should do it or whatever.
Right behind the ears.
You know what I'm saying? And when you and Pops talked, it was over. You know what I'm saying? Yep. I was like, man, it's just time to go ahead and do it. But, man, ever since you've been in college, man, you came back. You always came back and always helped me, man. I appreciate that. And, you know, I always got your back 100.
Appreciate that.
Now, real quick question. He didn't help you this year, did he? I just want to make sure. Not in those 2 games. I just want to make sure. Because if he
don't want to play us this year.
I'm saying, hopefully he didn't help you this year. Because he beat me twice this year. So we don't need that kind of help, Paris. No, we don't.
I know, right?
That's great. I like that topic, though.
Yeah, I'm going to go back and say, right, I'm going to go check that out. Just because we just have to do it. Like, there's some, like in California, when you go down to Florida, especially when you go to Texas, man, those guys are so connected and together. And
we kind of know. I mean, we talk. Me and Ty talk about this all the time, and that's why he always ranting and raving on, African Americans being coaches and us doing what we're supposed to do in the state of Illinois, and why our teams are not better. Like all of our teams should be real competitive with all the talent that we have, and why this not happening. Why he is that's why I say go back. He is really passionate and really about this movement. Even because we joke about it all the time. We like Ty the reason Nick got his job now.
Yeah, I made the call. Get him out.
Yeah. Hey, Ty was speaking up.
But you know what? But I'll say this though, Paris, and you are 100% right, and all of the guys on here. It's just like Rob said earlier, and I don't want to beat this horse because we talk about it all the time. But one of our problems we have actually in our own city, and let's just be clearly transparent. There's a lot of hate amongst each other just in our city. In our city. I mean, Rob is going to win. Nick is going to win. Mike Oliver is going to win. Goody's going to win. I don't hate any of those guys. I compete with all of them, but whatever I can do to help any of us, I want to help because none of us are successful if we're not all successful. None of us can be good if one of us cannot be good. You have to unmute your phone if you want to talk, parents. This is not college. You have to unmute yourself. Okay, there you go. But,
sorry, buddy. I said, Ty, you're absolutely right. Like the crazy thing is I go to a tournament after I left Illinois, and I'm sitting with my friend of 30 years, Chin. And people are like, oh, like, y'all still cool? He don't – why would I be mad at him? I'm happy for him. You know what I mean? Like, I'm going to call and give him everything he needs to know to be successful at that job because I had an opportunity. Even when I got the job, the first person to congratulate me who didn't get the job was Chin. And people don't understand, like, there's a brotherhood amongst us, those guys that respect one another. This is just how it goes. Chin calls me one night and says, hey, look, we call Rob. And Rob, what did he say to you? He needs the what treatment?
What?
Help me with give me the Paris Parham treatment.
Yeah, give me the Paris Parham treatment.
I said, Chin, call Rob, but I had to tell Chin how to deal with Rob. I mean, it's okay. This is just somebody I've been with for over 40 years, and I know how Rob ticks and what he likes and don't like. And the same thing when I had to go deal with Ty. I called Chin one of my first time going as a coach to try to get a high level player from Ty. Chin was with Ty every single day. And he knows, like, you got to do your job. And that's one thing that we was kind of helping Nick with, but we done helping Nick. We ain't But Ty, I'm with you on that. The hating's got to stop.
Hey, P, they don't know Nick learned fast, boy. It don't take long.
No more insight.
Hey, that's that Chicago competitive spirit.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
You don't want to
Do
lose?
you guys want to take a break before the second 2 hours, or how do you want to do it?
No, hey, I'm with Twan. I gotta save one
Hey,
Rand.
I
I was waiting for me.
I saw Twan grab his jacket. That made this thing over with for him.
Hey, listen.
Hey, Twan, I gotta hit the full market.
I just get myself prepared, Rob. You know, you guys got time. I just when I get off this, I got to be able to make it to where I'm going immediately. This is what you call a soft Saturday, man. You know, soft Saturday.
But before we get off again, I do appreciate you guys getting on, man. This was really good.
Amazing.
We all learned some stuff from each other, and that's what it's about. And
Awesome.
we need more of this. Like you saying,
Yeah.
P, just through high school, through college, through the whole thing. We gotta take care of our own people. You know, we gotta get rid of the other stuff. I tell people all the time when Coach Cal was recruiting Derek, he came in and he said, "You're doing a great job with this kid." Oh, thank you. He said, "But I'm not here to get you, son. I'm coming here to get him. I respect what you're doing. I love it, but I'm here to get him." I like that. That's 100. I know, you know, because you got some of these guys come in, you want to take. I don't need you to take me to dinner.
Right.
I don't need you to do that stuff for me. That stuff I don't need. I'm cool on that. Just you coming to get the kid, recruit the kid. You don't have to recruit me because I probably don't even like your program. You just said here. You know, so we do have to make sure that we taking care of each other and doing those things. And Nick knows, and P knows, and other guys that's from Illinois, and people say it to me all the time. If you recruiting one of my kids and it's between an Illinois school and one that's in Delaware, I'm rooting for here, because when you win that national championship, I can hold my hands up too.
Amen.
You know.
That's awesome. Yeah, I can't thank you guys enough for taking 2 hours of your Saturday. I think this might have been our best discussion we've had in episode 10. I mean, that was incredible. Thank you so much, guys.
Man, we need these boys back on.
Well, I think we might make you guys permanent co-hosts.
Yeah, they like different topics too.
Oh man, that was great. I love it.
We could circle back. We need to get Pion back on with some other coaches and Twine on with some other basketball icon people.
Yeah.
So it could tie into each other. Everything can tie in with each other, and we get Twine on with some other basketball icons, probably a Mark Aguirre, you know, somebody like that on with us, and then put P on with some other coaches, and we could just tie it in that way.
You know, we can get another Chicago legend too, Kevin Garnett.
There you go.
Let's do it.
All right, guys.
Okay.
Let's go for shot clock. Oh, it's only two of us that want them. Everybody else had shot clock. I'm sorry, my bad. It's just me and you, Rob. Now we have to fight by ourselves. Nick has left us. All right, boys, men, everybody. I'll talk to you guys.
Yeah.
Okay.
Appreciate it, fellas.
All right, man.
All right.